Hello everybody, welcome to another video. I want to welcome you to this channel. On my channel, I discuss a lot of topics that deal with tough questions that people may have within the Christian community, especially you don't have to be a part of the Christian community to ask these questions, to have these questions, because sometimes having these questions asked and answered may help you come to a better understanding and leading you ultimately to a relationship with Jesus Christ, and that's always my hope. If you enjoy this type of content, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel, and that just helps the YouTube algorithm push out these videos, especially to those who may not necessarily search for this type of video, and I believe this content may benefit you as well as those around you. Today's topic has to do with a very common question that not only I've had, but that I know a lot of other people have had and have asked me this question, and I know that I haven't really given a quite a satisfactory answer, not only to them but also to myself, until I've done a little bit of research and some reading that has helped me be able to answer this question. And that, of course, deals with the question of, well, when children die, do they go to heaven? Now, the secondary question that is asked here is, if a child dies, it's not just that the question, will they go to heaven, but will they go to hell? And this whole thing has to do with the idea of sin and the law and the relationship between the law and sin and God and his penalty for breaking that law. Now, some of you may have had this question yourselves, or maybe you've been asked this question by a coworker or a friend or maybe a family member, and I hope that this video will be of great benefit to you. I think it will, and I'll list my source here, as I believe it has helped me incredibly, and I recommend this book to you. It's called Faith Once for All by Jack Cottrell, and he talks in depth about these tough questions that we may have, and that's ultimately going to be the basis for a lot of these videos, and he's going to be a source that I will continue to draw from, because he has a very biblical stance on these issues, and he gives a lot of he points us to where these topics are discussed in the Bible, which is very helpful. And I'm going to post on the screen the scriptures that I'll read today in regards to my answer to this. Okay, so first of all, when someone asks you, does a child go to heaven or go to hell when they die? It's not the correct question, or at least it's not the complete question that should be asked. The correct question, the right question is, at what point in someone's life are they held accountable to the sin that they commit in their life? Because we are all born into sin. We all have in us a sinful nature. And so that is the question. At what age do we come to be accountable to the sin that we commit? What is the age of accountability? Is there a set age by which a child is not accountable to the sin they were born into and commit? And when does that transition happen to where they are held accountable? And the answer to that is that there is no set calendar age per se, where a child is held accountable to their sin. Rather, it is the time at which they receive the knowledge of the law, and not only that, but when they also have an understanding of the connection and relationship of that law and to God and his punishment that he has set for us when we are held liable for our sin and breaking his law. Okay, so once they have this understanding between the law and the connection to God and the punishment that he has for them, only then can someone be held accountable for the sins that they have committed. The idea is not limited to children, and you also may be wondering this as well, but it applies to those also who may have a mental handicap that prevents them from an understanding of the law and its relationship to God. So basically, it's an unavoidable ignorance that we are talking about here of the law and of its connection to God and the punishment that he has for breaking that law. Now, we know that there is a general revelation that we read in Scripture that there's no excuse for a man to not know God. But like I said, when there's a child and the ignorance is an unavoidable one, then they are not held accountable to the sin that is in their lives. Now, this means that there is no excuse for someone who is willfully ignorant, right? Someone who just chooses not to seek the truth, not to try to find out what the law is. And basically, when you're on a path to seeking the truth, God is right there in that search. And so in the case of a child, they can't help but this unavoidable ignorance. And like I said, there's no calendar, there's no set calendar day or an age that a child reaches this, and it's different for everybody. So, because children at an early age, they are taught morality not only by their parents, but by teachers, Sunday school teachers, also teachers in the secular world. And they have all of these thoughts and ideas and ideologies and philosophies that are coming at them from every direction, even from a young age. Now, they must be able to separate between what is being said and what is being taught to them by parents. And if they have Christian parents, they'll teach what God teaches, but also what God teaches. So they have to be able to differentiate, what is true and what is not. Now, as children, as a child for myself, I learned the Ten Commandments. Now, if I had passed away by knowing the Ten Commandments, but also not knowing the connection and relationship between the law and God's punishment for the transgressions that I had made, then I would not be held accountable to that. Again, because of the unavoidable ignorance that is associated with that age, and the age of accountability has not been quite reached yet. So I'm going to read a couple scriptures here, and this is the main support for this stance, this argument. It comes from Romans 4:15, and let's see, I'm going to still trying to figure out my setup here. All right, here we go. All right. Also trying to figure out Windows 10 as well. It says this in Romans 4:15, where there is no law, there is also no violation. And then from Romans 7:9, I was once alive apart from the law, but when the commandment came, sin became alive, and I died. Paul is referring to his coming of age and to his loss of innocence, which is coming to the knowledge of the law, and his knowledge of the connection between his relationship to God, or the relationship of God to the relationship to the law, and the punishment that is the penalty by which someone is held liable to if they commit a transgression of that law. So Paul is referring to his coming of age and to his loss of innocence, has reached the age of accountability for his sin. So again, before a child connects the law of God and also God's penalty for breaking it, they are alive in that their soul is not dead in their sin. And that comes from Ephesians 2:1 is another supporting scripture. So I hope that was helpful to you all. I can go more in depth, and if you have questions, feel free to post your comments down below. And I know this wasn't an in-depth study of this concept, but I hope you get the big picture and the main picture. I hope it was helpful to you. I remember Romans 4:15, Romans 7:9, that Paul talks about here when it comes to the age that someone comes to be held accountable and liable for the sin that is in their lives. It is the receiving of the knowledge of the law, as well as connecting that knowledge to God and his punishment for transgressing and breaking that law. I hope you all have a great day, and I hope that was really helpful to you. I will see you in the next video.